Welcome to Legal 123s with ByrdAdatto. Legal issues simplified through real client stories and real-world experiences. Creating simplicity in 3, 2, 1.
Welcome back to another episode of the Legal 123s with ByrdAdatto. I'm your host, ByrdAdatto, with my co-host, Michael Byrd.
Thanks, Brad. As a business and healthcare law firm, we represent clients in multiple sectors and multiple specialties, obviously, especially healthcare.
Yeah, we do.
This season, our theme is Specialty Spotlight, where each episode will visit about some of the nuances that can be found from a business and healthcare perspective in the various practice specialties.
Well, Michael, before we shine a light on today's guest, let's go to my favorite place.
Brad, I think we may scare people. Are you in the middle of recording a show wanting to go start talking about your favorite watering hole, R&D kitchen?
Okay, well, first off, that is a true fact. R&D kitchen is a great watering hole. You and I both love talking about sports. I can rarely remember an actual day where in the hallway or just bumping each other where you start talking about the latest game, what players are doing what. Did you catch this score or that score? I mean, we just love talking about it.
I do. It's also painful with my heart bleeds orange with the Longhorns and the Dallas Cowboys, and it's been a rough stretch. So it's a painful topic, but yes, we do talk about it every day.
Right. And so being both big sporties, at some point, my question to you, Michael, and don't worry, no one else is listening. So whatever you say, no one's going to hear it. Did you ever dream of playing a sport at the next level?
Well, first of all, Brad, I don't know what a sporty is. We'll set that aside for a moment. Are you about to go down this whole I got recruited to play football in college thing again?
First, it is true. I did get recruited to play football in college, although obviously I didn't go and do that. But as a kid, you had to have some wish of whatever that professional league was.
Well, so don't tell anyone.
Okay, no one's looking.
But when I was in 6th grade, I was so obsessed with the Dallas Cowboys that I once woke up and was depressed the entire day because I realized that what I was dreaming was not true. And I was dreaming that I was the quarterback for the Dallas Cowboys, and we just won the Super Bowl, and it felt as real as any dream I've ever had. And I woke up to just being a 6th grader.
Yeah, and not having one.
And being me.
Yeah, that's a problem by itself.
What about you?
In shocking news, I know this is a surprise you and our listening audience. I also wanted to play football, and I wanted to play running back for the New Orleans Saints. That would have been my dream job.
Okay, well, true confessions. I'm glad no one's listening.
Yes.
And
just sidebar, for our audience, I do have a little Saints gear in today's show, by the way.
Yeah, for those of you looking, it's a nice distraction from Brad's face. You can see the hat up to the side. So, what does your dream of being a New Orleans Saints running back have to do with today's show?
Well, unlike you and me, today's guest was able to play football in college at the University of Texas and was also a player for the 2005 National Championship team.
Whoa. We should have been leading with this. And that's not just a national championship team. And it's not just the last time one of my teams had success. So it's been a minute.
Mm-hmm.
This many say is the greatest college football game in college football history. And I think it's a fact. But the only sad part about that is I got invited and had a ticket to go and was not able to go and regret that to this day.
Yes. Well, and Michael, I think the other funny thing about today is that with today's guest, not only was able to parlay his playing days, which obviously was a passion of his, but his other passion, which is medicine, and now he's actually employed by an NFL team. So let's bring on today's guest.
It's going to be fun. So today we are joined by Dr. Karim Meijer. He is board-certified, fellowship-trained orthopedic surgeon and sports medicine specialist. He is, Brad, I think I need your New Orleans to
Ochsner Sports Medicine Institute.
Okay, thank you. I would have not had the right flair when I did that. He practices, his practice focuses on arthroscopic and reconstructive surgery of the shoulder, elbow, and knee. He graduated summa cum laude from the University of Texas. P.S. Not only did he play football, and I didn't also graduate with those
titles.
Titles, yes. He attended medical school at UT Southwestern in Dallas, where he was elected to the Alpha Omega Alpha Honor Society. He completed his orthopedic residency at Louisiana State University in New Orleans, Louisiana.
Tigers.
Selected by Dr. James Andrews, yes, that Dr. James Andrews, for a sports medicine fellowship. Published his research in many peer-reviewed journals, contributed to a textbook chapter concerning elbow injuries in throwing athletes. He remains active in sports medicine research and many professional societies, married with 3 children, lives in New Orleans. And, okay, Brad, now I know why Kareem's on. He is the head team physician for the New Orleans Saints. Kareem, welcome.
Well, thank you. Nice introduction. I appreciate that. And Michael, I'm sorry you could not go to the game.
Me too.
Well, that's the thing where we need to start right now, Kareem, is like, here we are. We got this guy who always says hook 'em after every single time you hear the word UT somewhere. This supposed big fan. And for those who are listening, I'm using air quotes. He has a ticket to go to the Rose Bowl to see the national championship game. He doesn't go against USC. So since he couldn't go, maybe someone who played in the game itself, maybe you could tell us, what was that like?
It was looking back, it was crazy because this was actually pre-social media days, if you think about it. And the amount of hype that game probably would have been incredible, because we spent the whole, whatever it is, month leading up to the game just listening to USC is the greatest team ever assembled.
Yes.
This is the greatest dynasty. I mean, they didn't even talk about us. It was more about they're the greatest assembly of college football. They hadn't lost a game in like 3 years. And so they had won 2 back-to-back national championships. They were going to go for a third. They had 2 Heisman Trophy winners in the backfield. We were just kind of the afterthought. And so we spent the whole month listening about that. And there was just a different vibe around our team. And Vince led that. And, I was at the right place at the right time with a really good group of guys. And, getting to Pasadena, we'd already been there. We were there the year before. So nothing was like, it wasn't shock and awe. It was kind of like just a business trip. Like we'd already done everything. We'd already played there. We'd already been there, staying in the same place. It was literally like a business trip. And, getting to that game, I don't think anybody on our team thought we were going to lose. I don't even think when we were down in the fourth quarter, anybody thought we were going to lose. In fact, I never saw the game, the TV copy, until probably like 6, 7, 8 months later after the game ended. And I watched the TV copy and I'm like, man, did we lose? No, we're going to lose. We're going to lose.
Yes.
Because they, like, when you listen to it, they make it so much more intense than like when you're just out there playing, because you kind of know, you know what's going on. It's just a different feel listening and watching versus like just being there on the field, playing in the game. And yeah, I mean, pretty amazing. And like Michael said, yeah, maybe it is, I don't know. That's not for me to judge, but maybe it is one of the greatest college football games of all time.
I've unfortunately been at his house before, Kareem, when he had it playing on a DVD. And as he said, right now, it looks like we're going to lose this game. Anyone want to take a bet now?
Yeah. No, I got it.
Yeah. And it feels that way.
Yeah.
That's really cool.
No doubt. No, it was fun. It was great. And like, look, what Coach Brown told us, and I think there's a famous TV copy of it after the game. He pretty much came in the locker room right after the game and just said, hey, look, just make sure this is the greatest athletic accomplishment in your life, but not the greatest thing that's ever happened to you in your life. And which is true. So, I mean, I have a lot of other, blessings, marrying my wife, my kids, things that have, family things I've been able to do, career-wise things. And so from an athletic standpoint, yeah, that was it. It's really easy as an athlete if that's the last day you ever play. And so it's just an easy way to walk away from the game. Because I literally graduated in December and we played in January. So I actually left the jersey dirty. The team framed it. They made a big kind of frame. And I left the grass stains, everything. They framed it up and gave it to me as a gift. And so, it's cool. Kind of a nice little remembrance. And yeah, so last day I ever was at the University of Texas.
That's amazing. Well, and I'm curious. I mean, it seems intuitive. I would think, okay, college football athlete, you go into sports medicine. Is that what drew you into this as a specialty, that passion, or Tell us more about what kind of
look, I have actually a finance degree. I thought I was going to be a business guy. That's what my brother did. And I just, playing football, I got hurt. I had no doctors in my family. Didn't really know what doctors really did, to be honest with you. Didn't really know all the specialties. Didn't know anything about it. Met our team, orthopedic surgeon who traveled with the team, and I got hurt. I had, injuries myself. And it's like, well, what do you do? And you take care of athletes, and you just kind of put us back together, and you just let me do what I love. And I'm like, that sounds interesting. So I was in the business program at Texas. I started just with like, what do I got to do? He's like, well, you got to be pre-med. You got to do this. So I just started adding those classes. You're there, you're in summer school, you got to do training. So you have the time. UT gives you all the resources under the sun. I mean, you can schedule classes early. You have summer school. So I did all that stuff, and I was like, you know what? Maybe I'll do this. This sounds interesting. I got decent grades. Let me pursue the orthopedic part. Well, there's a big jump. Let me tell you, from being a college football player who thinks he likes what his orthopedic surgeon team doc does to then getting to that position. There's about let's say I'm in college, I'm at the 22nd grade, maybe. No, what am I? No, I'd be at the 16th grade. Let's call it the 16th grade. You got to graduate the 26th grade. So there's a decade in between, at a minimum, of what that person treating you before you step into those footsteps. So wow. That's the very long-winded part that I had no idea about to go through, but I knew the pathway, I knew the end goal, and I got there. So I don't want to go through it again. I'm done. I'm not doing that twice.
Well, that's interesting too.
I'm done.
Yeah. I think about so you go to UT Southwestern, right? Is that where you went to medical school?
I did. Yeah.
And so
there's a UT story to that as well.
Oh, really?
So yeah. So I don't know where to go to med school, right? I don't know anything about it. I'm like the only guy on the team that's going to med school. I don't have friends. I'm barely doing pre-med, so I'm not like connected in that community.
Yeah.
So I'm like, well, where do I go? And so University of Texas, and really the state of Texas, does a great job of funding the programs. So your cost to become a doctor is so much less in the state of Texas. And I even tell students here, like, look, you don't seek out of state places just for medical school because you think it's going to be this holy grail. You're going to be burdened with a ton of debt and everything else. Like if you can stay in state and the state of Texas helps you out, it's a hell of a lot better. All right. Mm-hmm. Like I got kids, here in school, and Brad knows this. Brad knows the public school system here is a little bit different. So a lot of kids, you say private school, it sounds hoity-toity, but it's kind of like the norm. It's like everybody goes. But I basically am going to produce a fourth grader and a second grader for what it took me to become a doctor. You know what I mean? Yeah.
By the way, his kids go to where the school I went to, high school, Country Day. So it's it's the smallest worlds.
As crazy as it sounds. So anyway, talking about the schooling, so the UT connection, to just kind of sum this up, a linebacker on my team, his aunt was the dean of students at UT Southwestern.
Wow.
And she found out I wanted to go to med school. Well, they only interviewed on Saturdays in the fall. Okay, so Saturdays in the fall, I'm not exactly available.
Yeah.
So the UT Southwestern folks were like, well, we'll compromise. We'll meet you in Waco, or we'll do it on a weekday. And they were like the only med school that was like, I'm like, man, this is the place to go. These people, it's a great medical school. It's fantastic. It's top ranked. I mean, no brainer. And that's how I got there.
That's amazing. And would you say unique that you kind of knew where you wanted to end up from a specialty perspective when you're in med school? Do most kind of trying to find their way?
Yeah, I think I'm not sure. I mean, I knew exactly what, and look, I wouldn't do anything else but what I do right this job. I wouldn't be a total joint surgeon. I wouldn't be a hand surgeon. I wouldn't even do anything within orthopedics. I literally love only what I do and nothing else. And so I wouldn't do any other specialty whatsoever. I don't know what the majority of other students come in. I just kind of found, yep, that's what I'm going to do. That's my job. I'm doing that.
Well, I mean, that's so fascinating. On that subject alone, I probably could spend another 20 minutes. But I want to ask you, so now you've already established the fact of, as you said, becoming an orthopedic surgeon, if you look back and how hard you had to work. So probably the biggest challenge you faced at that point in your career was actually getting to that point. But now that you're in this specialty, working in sports medicine, working as an orthopedist, what are some of these patient challenges that you see in this particular specialty?
You talking about as in what? there's so many ways to answer that question. Like,
what's the biggest one you run into in your specialty when it comes to these patient challenges?
From a medical standpoint, or like just a healthcare delivery business model standpoint for patients?
It's your cue. You get to choose.
Okay. I think from a patient standpoint, patient challenges, I think health insurance is a nightmare. It's a nightmare to navigate. It's a nightmare for me. It's a nightmare for them. Look, I just left clinic. Okay. I had a lady who was employed and then changed jobs, but didn't have health insurance at the time, and then has a knee injury, but can't get, seen anywhere. So she's been dealing with a very swollen knee, difficulty, can't move around, she's bouncing doctor to doctor, called one doctor's office. Look, I'll just pay cash. Will you see me? They didn't even understand how that would work. And they literally just said, no, we're not going to go down that pathway with her. And so she finally gets insurance. Now she sees me. So it's like, that is a nightmare for patients in a way. And then for physicians, I dealt with problems. I dealt with insurance contracts, and every insurance company gives you a different contract. And you, if you're not under the same ID as the rest of your practice and you join a different plan, you're going to get a different plan. And you may get a different plan from your partner. And your partner may have been in practice longer than you, and his plan is worse than yours. And you get a better. It is a total nightmare. And I guess the way I sum it up is insurance companies don't provide healthcare. I provide healthcare. They process claims, and they need to understand your role is to process claims. I provide healthcare. Which is unbelievable to me, they have stolen my product. And when I mean mine, not me personally, but my fellow physicians, my fellow PAs, my fellow nurse practitioners, physical therapists, they have stolen our product, packaged it into a financial vehicle, and then sold it to the public with the perception that they provide healthcare.
Yeah,
which is so far from the truth.
That's crazy. Well, and then kind of thinking about not only your specialty, but your practice, you have a role as a team doctor, and then you have, I guess, a private practice. How do those two work together? I mean, how's that?
Yeah. So it is, it's like I wear two different hats. I have a life with the Saints, and then I chose to work at Ochsner. I could work anywhere. That was the best fit for me to do what I wanted to do, kind of in the city. They were the best partner, no doubt. And so I have two different roles. And, with the Saints, insurance is kind of out the door. I practice sports medicine 100 miles an hour. In other words, there's no barriers to me. It's like the holy grail of practicing sports medicine. And if I think I want to do something, I get it done. If I need that image, it gets done. If I want this piece of equipment to do this for my players, I get it done. So I'm able to push the envelope and do things with them with zero barriers. The way I think everyday patients would absolutely love to be treated. And so then I work in the real world at Ochsner. And it's a little bit, I don't want to say it's a dichotomy, because Ochsner is great. And they give you a lot of the resources I need to do the job, but it's nowhere near at the speed of what I can do managing an NFL team.
And that's fascinating, because I could only imagine, what that's got to be like, being able to render care in this uninhibited way, in one moment, and then the next you've got kind of these real world, as you say, limitations that affect how you could care for a patient when you could probably be doing something more aggressive.
And little tiny examples of that. Yesterday, I had to do a distal bicep rupture on a patient, and I usually will prescribe a medication to help prevent bone formation. Medicine's been on the market for 50 years, generic. Insurance company denied it, wants to do a pre-authorization and all this other stuff, wasting everybody's time for no other reason that somebody just knee-jerk reaction did that. And it's like, what are we doing here? It eventually gets approved, but it's a waste of my time, my assistant's time, it's paperwork. It's just a joke, Yeah.
Well, talk about, I think that insurance is clearly not only a big patient challenge, it's a big business challenge for the practice. Are there some other kind of business challenges you face doing kind of your niche practice that would be helpful for the audience, especially someone thinking about, coming into, this type of practice?
So I think it's the definition of practices. Are you in private practice? Are you employed? Private equity is all over the place now. There's a lot of different moving parts, and everybody's trying to get a piece of the pie. And at the end of the day, it's the doctors, it's our business. Look, I'm sitting with two attorneys. You guys run your business. There's no third party payer. Ask Brad. When I write the checks, it ain't going through some insurance company. It's going straight to Brad. Okay. And so that's the way the world should.
Karim, Michael doesn't know I represent you. That's actually really been going straight to me. I haven't sharing anything with them.
But you know what I mean? There's just barriers, and now I think you almost have to be on three sides of this fence here, or three-sided triangle. Let's just call it this. In my mind, you have to be maximally fully employed with a mega system. You have to be fully private practice and integrate vertically and horizontally to be successful today, or you're selling out to a private equity and letting that piece of it work that way. I think that's where it's at. I think if you're stuck in between any of those three little kind of triangles, you're kind of in a bad place. And I'm not sure which one of those is going to be the future of it. But I think you see the trends, how more and more physicians are being employed. Private practices getting more difficult. You're seeing the stresses on private practices. You're seeing, what I hope is that you're not seeing lessening of indications. What I mean by that is, are they doing things that are not the right thing for the patient? Are they starting to offer services they shouldn't be offering? Are they pushing the envelope on certain things? Are they getting involved in things just for the quick buck? Because the insurance companies are making it so difficult to sustain a private practice model, so you can't just be a physician. You have to be a little bit of a businessman to understand everything. So it's challenging, but I think it's challenging on all fronts. Being in an employed model, there's some things we deal with, and I'm sure, I've heard from friends of mine in the private equity model, there's going to be some things there that are going to shake up. I think ortho, I don't want to say it's new to the game, but I don't think it's like some of the other specialties. I think you've seen it a lot more in the other ones.
I was going to say the only other thing I was thinking of as you were talking about that, a lot of times when you talk to physicians, their major is biology or chemistry or whatever it is. You having a finance degree has to have been a huge help just from having the business sense when you're working. I mean, obviously you have to have the skill set to be a physician no matter what, but then that business hat that you have to put on, having that finance degree must have been huge for you.
Well, you at least understand, where the other side of the table's thinking, what they're looking at, you could just see, look, huge pet peeve of mine. I'm not a provider. Don't call me a damn provider. Okay. I'm a physician. The whole connotation of calling people providers commoditizes the person. You're a provider of a healthcare service. That sounds like a business person. Okay. Like, I'm old school. It's a doctor or a physician. I graduated the 26th grade. I think I earned the title. You're an attorney, It's like, well, I don't even know what we would call you. You're legal providers. Both of you guys are legal providers. Great. Good for you. I'm glad you guys spent all those hard hours studying, and that's what you get called. I mean, it's kind of, if you just, it seems simple, but I mean, it kind of sets the basis of the fundamental of kind of what we're dealing with in this country. Calling us that. No, it's a physician assistant. He or she earned that role. It's a physical therapist. It's just that those things wear me out, drives me nuts, because it kind of takes, again, it commoditizes that person who's really the only one driving the engine of that practice. There's no CPT code for administrators. I think the last I checked, so there has to be just some basic level of respect and understanding that healthcare should be driven by the people that actually provide the healthcare.
Hearing when we started this and hearing about obviously having those different hats that you wear, knowing that you obviously work with the Saints and then having that private practice, you can really tell you're passionate about just really wanting to treat patients ultimately and having those other people get out of your way, because as you said, working at the Saints facility, you get to treat the patients as you seem best, not as someone else does.
No, and look, and don't get me wrong. That's why, I chose Ochsner. It was the best fit for me to do it. And it's just there's a different, it's kind of like the 30,000 foot view and then where your practice is. But globally, healthcare in the United States, I mean, you're just seeing how it's moved, how the model has moved.
Yeah.
I mean, look, Brad, better than anything. Your dad, I mean, you lived in this, what your dad and I used to interview med students together.
That's right.
So look, I get it. It's different, and I just don't know where this is sustainable for just the overall economy. When you think of, mega corporations getting bigger, and health insurance is getting bigger and bigger and bigger and consolidating more. Premiums are going up. They ain't going down. I had to deal with it in private practice. We had 20, 30 employees or whatever. So we were a small business. So you see the pressures, you see what goes on. And believe me, United Healthcare never gave me an increase. I didn't get a 1% raise ever from them. Your employees don't want a 1% increase. You don't think the rent goes up at wherever you're at. You don't think the cost of living goes up. I mean, come on.
Yeah. Well, I think we're going to get ready to sign off, but I guess, for our audience, being a football player, going into orthopedics, we were talking about dream jobs. Is this the dream job, being the head physician for an NFL team? And in that case, the best NFL team, of course, the Saints. But is this the dream job that you never thought, like, as you said, you were concentrating football and finance, and all of a sudden you have this job? Is it amazing for you?
So look, it is a dream job, right? It's great, but it's not the end. Dr. Andrews used to always tell me, he's like, if you're talking about what you did yesterday, you're doing nothing today. So you got to keep moving. So I got to keep pushing forward. And it's not that I got here and I'm happy, pat myself on the back. It's press on. I mean, to me, this is the beginning. This isn't like I got there in the end. I mean, there's a lot of stuff to help the Saints do the best I can, provide the best value to them. With Ochsner, do the best I can with that system. And look, to put a plug, we just partnered with Dr. Andrews. Yeah. So we just entered a 5-year agreement with him to be joining us, to then hopefully launch probably the premier sports medicine complex is really what it's going to end up becoming, hopefully in the country, where you can blend all these organizations, all these just, fantastic people, and then bringing in Dr. Andrews to partner with this and grow something big. I mean, that's what I'm excited about.
Yeah. That's incredible. I love hearing your story, and it just so much of your story overlaps with so much of what Brad and I care about, whether it's teams or
the Saints and the Longhorns.
Right.
Well, you got a little bit of Tigers in there too when you went to LSU.
Yeah.
Hey, let's see.
Oh, there you go. He's got a little LSU golf ball for our audience.
Yeah. I don't know how I got that, but I got that somewhere.
So a good combination.
Yeah. So what we'll do next, Karim, it was just a pleasure talking with you today, is we'll say goodbye, and then we'll go into commercial, and then on the other side, Brad and I will do a little bit of a legal wrap-up. But we really appreciate the time.
Yeah, you got it, guys. Keep doing the job, and all the best with you guys, and nothing but success on the show.
Thank you.
Thank you.
I hope if your ratings drop, don't blame me on this one. All right. See y'all. Y'all take care.
Many business owners use legal counsel as a last resort rather than as a proactive tool that can further their success. Why? For most, it's the fear of unknown legal costs. ByrdAdatto's Access Plus program makes it possible for you to get the ongoing legal assistance you need for one predictable monthly fee. That gives you unlimited phone and email access to the legal team, so you can receive feedback on legal concerns as they arise. Access Plus, a smarter, simpler way to access legal services. Find out more. Visit ByrdAdatto.com today.
Well, welcome back to Legal 1-2-3s with ByrdAdatto. I'm your host, ByrdAdatto. My co-host, Michael Byrd, still here. Now, Michael, our season theme this year is really, specialty spotlight. And what a specialty spotlight we had today. I mean, we had the Saints. Is it anything after? Oh, wait. He's also a physician, and he's also the head physician of Saints. So with Karim coming on, man, this is the problem with our podcast being around 30 minutes. I could have kept going, listening to his stories.
We say that every week.
I know. It's amazing. So hopefully our audience enjoys it as much as we are having so much fun with these great specialists coming on. But, he said so many really interesting things about just in general about the practice of medicine and the industry as a whole. And I think our audience hopefully heard that he was kind of breaking down the different buckets you could fall into: the private practice side, the hospital side, the PE side, in his case, NFL team side.
Yeah.
But, for our audience, because of our time left, why don't we just focus on just one of the pros and cons of one of them? And because so many of our clients are falling into that bucket of working for these large systems or hospital systems, why don't you give us some pros and cons on that one, Michael?
Yeah, so you're going to be employed by a hospital, and this is one of those specialties, as he mentioned, that you actually see private practices, you see the private equity.
Yeah.
Some don't have a choice. Some are going to be there. Regardless, if you're a hospital employee, there's some pros and cons. The pros you typically are going to have a more security, a higher initial guaranteed salary, and it's just from a financial perspective, more stability, less expectation on the administrative business, like running a business side. You may have some administrative responsibilities, but not the running a small business type responsibilities.
Yeah.
And the cons are, if you're an entrepreneurial type person, then it's not really the best environment to cultivate that, because you're reporting to other people. I mean, you have obviously your patient care that you're in charge of, but when it comes to the business of whatever your specialty is, there's going to be others that are going to be in charge of that.
Yeah, I totally agree with that. And a quick summary, and I know that we could spend another 45 minutes on this alone, but unfortunately we're basically out of time today because just how it goes with these awesome guests coming on. But guess what, everyone out there? Next Wednesday we'll be back again with another show on the Specialty Spotlight. Next week, we're focused on plastic surgery with our good friend, Dr. Brad Calabrese. Thanks again for joining us today. And remember, if you like this episode, please subscribe, make sure to give us a 5-star rating, and share with your friends.
You can also sign up for the ByrdAdatto newsletter by going to our website at ByrdAdatto.com.
ByrdAdatto is providing this podcast as a public service. This podcast is for educational purposes only. This podcast does not constitute legal advice, nor does it establish an attorney-client relationship. Reference to any specific product or entity does not constitute an endorsement or recommendation by ByrdAdatto. The views expressed by guests are their own, and their appearance on the program does not imply an endorsement of them or any entity they represent. Please consult with an attorney on your legal issues.